I watch Fox News. I watch the other news, too. And I know, I don't see, I watch Brett Baer seems right down the middle to me.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I thought Shep Smith was out of line yesterday, but going on about how he didn't think that there should be all of this. Well, what did he say, Bigfoot?
We have it ready for you.
Fired up. Here's what Shep said yesterday. I love Shep.
You know, I get it that this is an unusual thing. It's an unprecedented thing. It's important for people to know about it. But, Doctor, what keeps striking me is there is nothing on earth people ought to be worrying about less right now, the vast majority of our audience, than this. It's not going to affect them. We're talking about one person in one place, and for everybody to get all hyped up about this seems to me counterproductive and irresponsible.
Well, we don't know that. And he should have said that. He shouldn't have said that. I don't think. Because then we follow that with an hour from Neil Cavuto, which was riveting, a coverage of this potential crisis. I'm not one of those people who thinks, and I have a compromised immune system. So does Neil, by the way. But neither one of us jumping up and down screaming, thinking that it's the end of the world. But I do think that it, and here's all I'm asking, and you're probably asking too, I bet. And that is, if any of these news organizations or any of these experts, and this is not going to happen, but here's what I'd like to happen, is tell us what you do know, and don't speculate about what you don't know, and don't tell us stuff that you know is not true, or that you think is going to make us feel better, or calm our fears, right. That kind of thing. And that's my quarrel with some of these idiots who appear on these various networks, these various doctors and so on. And that is that they say unequivocally, well, it can't be transmitted through airborne. But they don't know that. So we don't know that. So be willing to say that. But you know, in your everyday life, and I know this is true, that you can't get anybody to most time. You can't get people to say, I don't know. You ask somebody something, and if they don't know, they'll speculate, right, or guess or whatever. But that's not. I haven't fired people, but people work for me, and one of the first things I tell them is don't do that. If I ask you something and you don't know, I don't know is an acceptable answer to anything.
Right.
Say I don't know. I'll find. That's what Megan does. Her what? She's pretty smart though. She says I don't know. I'll find out.
Perfect.
Well, so that's what Mark Siegel and Dr. Manny Pacquiao, what's his name?
Dr. Manny Alvarez.
Dr. Manny Alvarez. Mm-hmm. They just say that. But don't make these statements when you don't know. I know that you don't know what you're talking about. So, because that's not helpful. And here's why I say that. Because we have this, God bless him, this NBC cameraman.
Yes.
And here's Connell with that story.
Well, 33-year-old American cameraman helping to cover the Ebola outbreak in Liberia for NBC News tested positive for Ebola. So he'll be flown back to the United States here to be treated. He was part of the team that was working with Dr. Nancy Snyderman as the chief medical correspondent over at NBC. And the other members of that news crew will be monitored for 21 days, and NBC says that's out of an abundance of caution, but they want to see if they develop symptoms. They haven't yet. This is Nancy Snyderman. We'll listen to her for a moment, talking on MSNBC last night, I believe on the Maddow program, that up till now they've been doing everything they can to avoid getting sick while they're over there covering this story in Liberia.
We all observe the custom now, which is to not shake hands, to not embrace people, to wash our hands with the diluted bleach water before we enter the hotel. We dip our feet in bleach solution.
But this guy still came down with Ebola, the cameraman. So he's being flown back.
To my point that we don't know how he contracted this, and until we do.
Right.
And, of course, Dr. Gottlieb, who was here yesterday, I thought he was pretty good. Yes. For a former FDA official. In fact, I thought he was refreshingly honest.
Mm-hmm.
And, he said it certainly could be airborne. There's some, oftentimes, like, you ever been to one of these Broadway shows and you see the
spittle?
Yeah.
Oh, coming from the
actors when they're
right.
Well, that happens all the time in real life, of course. That's what that is. So that they could certainly be transmitted that way.
Yep, that's a bodily fluid. Yeah.